right. So tell me what you were starting to say earlier.
So I was saying, oh, what was the question?
Traits that were missing in your in your previous relationships.
What traits were missing in your previous relationships or in the men that you met before me that you deem to be important now? Or not necessarily traits, but like the way you treated, the way you're
like aspects of a relationship that I realized were important.
Like the growth process.
Yeah. Okay, you start. You said you were gonna start. You gotta start.
That's ugly. I think one of the biggest things was my self-confidence being shattered due to the validation of the women that I were pursuing. And what I mean by that is that, like, I determined how much of a man I was by the women that I was with.
Yeah.
And if I was with shitty women, then I was made to feel like shit. And not receiving validation as a man is hard. And a lot of men will claim they don't want it, but it's good to hear, like, hey, you're doing a good job, or hey, I care about you, or hey, I'm glad to see you, or hey, I miss you. Like, that reassurance is imperative as well.
Well, I feel like that's, honestly, I think that's a big lesson to learn, I think, for everyone. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I know that in, like, there were previous relationships where it would definitely feel like would make me feel like I was asking for too much.
Right.
Like, I shouldn't need to do that for you. I shouldn't need to tell you that I love you. You should already know that I love you. How insecure are you that you don't already, that you need me to say this to you? You know what I mean? And that's not like what's that song where she's like, the chorus is that I'm not asking for too much, I'm asking the wrong motherfucker.
Oh, is it Jasmine Sullivan?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I think it is.
But like that's how that is. Like, and I think that a lot of the time too, like, shitty people will turn it around to like get themselves out of having to do that much work. You know what I mean?
They will. They will try to set the bar low. That way it doesn't require them to do more work.
Right.
Which is mad.
Because they can get out of it. So they can make you feel like you're asking for too much. Like, this is ridiculous.
And they
you know
start
what I mean?
questioning if you are asking for too much, are you doing
oh my
too
gosh,
much?
You're right.
And
I'm so needy. I'm so right.
And it's crazy. It's like these people who are claiming like you're wanting too much. They're the ones who genuinely want it, but they're afraid to ask for it.
And like low key, who needed the most?
They need a hug.
Like, honey.
You need a hug? Do you need a hug, darling? Like,
it's okay. I know you're sad.
Oh.
Oh, that's so funny.
Come on.
Oh my gosh.
It's just, and I don't even think it's a gender thing necessarily. Like, I just think it's two type of people. There's people who genuinely want to love, and there's people who really is still trying to figure out what they want. And then the subcategories of people trying to figure out what they want are the people who mistreat other people because they're unsure and indecisive, who cheat, who lie, who do all these things. The people who genuinely want to love, their subcategory is like they want to love, but they're scared to. They're scared to be vulnerable because they're scared to be hurt and they're scared to be taken advantage of. But also, they don't want to be alone because that connection is very important. They want to love, they want to be cared for, and it's crazy how these two type of people keep meeting. And it's like
that's why it's so important to listen to the red flags, like, because they're almost always, and like, if anyone has been blinded by a relationship and gotten stuck in that for longer than you should have, that's me, okay? But like, there are red flags.
But you also gotta realize that people, the first sign of a red flag, like people they don't intentionally, but they get in relationships and they look for red flags so they can look for the first exit out because they're afraid of being hurt again.
Oh, that's true too.
But
like
sometimes, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go.
Sometimes red flags aren't necessarily red flags. It's just that because past experiences look similar to this one, now your brain's using that same schema to put that together to say, hey, you know what? We've been down a dark alley before, and it didn't turn out well the last time. What's gonna be different from last time? Because the last person said the same thing this person's saying, but yet they're doing the exact same thing. So with that being said, how do I know that this is gonna turn out the same way it did last time? This is a red flag. I'm out.
My brain totally did that with you when like you and I first started talking, and you would like say too many things that were like the right thing, and I was like, no,
this is too good to
nope.
be true. That's how I was. So I was like, no, she's trying to drain my bank account and leave me in the desert somewhere. She doesn't. There's no way.
I was like, he's lying. I don't know why he's lying. I don't know what it means yet, but it's a lie. I know it's a lie.
I can't figure it out.
I'm gonna get it though.
Right.
I'm gonna figure it out. I'll figure it out. I don't know why this shit is not real.
No, there's no way.
So I get that for sure. And then it's hard to know, like, is this situation, like, am I overreacting to something?
Am I underreacting?
Am I underreacting?
Because if I'm underreacting, I'm gonna get hurt. If I'm overreacting, I'm like jealous,
I'm gonna get hurt.
I'm gonna get hurt because it leads to an argument, and it's my fault. Then it leads to me feeling bad because it's my fault, and I'm trying so hard not to do the wrong things that I can't focus on the things that are right in my relationship or that aren't right with my partner necessarily, because I'm so distracted within my mental self of me trying to navigate my half of the relationship to make sure it's good. Meanwhile, my partner's out there living their best life unscathed. Like, they not stressed, they not hurt, they don't want to talk about feelings, they doing their own thing. Meanwhile, I'm having a mental internal battle with myself, beating the shit out of me, myself, and I.
Right.
It's wild.
All day long.
All day long.
All day long.
All day long.
That goes back to those two categories of people.
So, category number one.
Because I've been sitting here thinking about this shit all day.
All day. And what's crazy is they make it worse. They add salt to the wound every time.
Mm-hmm.
Just when you like, you know what? I can get past it. It's going to be okay. They be like, oh, and by the way, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be some bullshit. What is it?
I just think it's funny.
I just think it's funny how. Fuck.
What do you think that, like, because I know that things were things were hard for us at the beginning too, right? So, like, sometimes, like, I know that we have put work into our relationship, obviously, but, like, sometimes it's hard for me to see, like, the specific steps that we took to, like, get here. Like, sometimes it feels like this is just good luck. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I would say that if we didn't put in as much time, effort, communication, vulnerability, and like I would say that if the work wasn't there. But we've genuinely put in work, and then while we were putting in work, there was other things in our life that were fucking going to crap. And like the world was on fire. And the focus for once in my life at least wasn't my relationship being on fire. It was everything else in my life. But like us, we were good. Like, even though it was hard because we're trying to learn each other, navigate each other's love languages and stuff, and it wasn't even hard in the sense of like, oh, we're about to be done with each other for good type deal. It was like, hey, I didn't realize that affected you like this, or I think
the hard part of that is working through those anxieties.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where the hard stuff comes in, is working through, like, I remember sitting there telling myself, like, there is literally no reason for him to lie. Like, if this was a red flag, and if this is not what it looks like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I remember having to talk myself through all of that and being like, and like, I think that's where the work comes in. You know what I mean? Is you have to like talk yourself through each of those things that you have learned, and like, in fairness, you learned them for a reason. Like, you're not wrong for feeling that way. No one's saying you're wrong for feeling that way, right? Like, it makes sense that you're scared. It's okay.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, you've been through it. Like,
and what was crazy is like, up front from the get-go, I didn't say a whole lot about me, but everything I did say, like I was like, hey, here, like I said all the important things, but like the trauma related stuff, it took me a minute to open up about that stuff, but everything else, I'm like, hey, here's my situation, take it or leave it. And you're like, hey, here's my situation, take it or leave it. And I was like, okay, cool. And you're like, all right, cool, all right, cool.
You're really cute, by the way.
So, shit. No, but like, it was only hard because it was something new. This was the first time I've been in a relationship, and I'm like, okay, where are the flags? Am I at the right amusement park? Hello, anybody work here?
Am I in the back rooms?
Am I in the back rooms? Did I fall behind a dresser somewhere? Did I? No, it's like
none of this looks familiar.
Right, I was like, healthy is scary.
Right? Remember we said that to each other so many times.
I was like, this is too healthy. Something's going wrong. Do you still care about me? Okay, cool. Do you still love me? Okay, cool. You still want to be with me? You
Mine
sure?
are always, hey, you're not mad at me, right?
Right, you're not mad at me, right? And there are so many times, like, our attachment issues really came out. Not attachment issues, our, what do you call it when you're attached and then you're avoidant?
Oh, attachment styles.
Styles, there you go, not issues. Like, there's so many times I was trying to walk away. You're like, no, come here and talk to me. And I'm like, you sure? You're like, yeah, come here and talk to me. And there's other times where you're like, I don't want to bother him. I'm like, come here, I got you. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, it's okay. Calm down, anxiety. And then you're like, well, come back and avoid it.
Right.
I'll calm down
and
when
a
you
piece
come
of it. Right.
I'll calm down when you come back. Like,
my anxiety is not going to calm down until you come back.
So when you come back, I'll calm down. I was like, fuck. Oh,
I remember there were times that like we would talk through things that were like heavy. I remember specifically one time you went to leave, and I was like, I love you. I need you to stay here. Like, we don't have to talk about it right now. We can wait, but I need you not to leave. You know?
And I was like, all right.
And I feel like finding those like compromises did a lot to make both of us feel safe enough to be able to overcome those like thoughts and feelings of like, this is going to be the same situation. You know what I mean? But it wasn't, because we compromised and we found ways to make each other feel safe enough to be able to continue to work. You know what I mean?
I think we both needed to know that we needed each other. Not it's not a need as in like I'm gonna die if you're not here, but like I needed you as my partner in these moments. But I think it looked different for both of us because you're anxiety and I'm avoidant. I needed to know like you genuinely. I've never had anybody say, "Hey, I want you to be here in this moment with me." It's always like, "All right, fuck it, fine, leave then, bye, see ya, be gone. I could do without you." And it's like when you build that hard exterior shell, it's like,
and
okay,
what's crazy is the
the
only reason that people respond that way is because they are too insecure to be able to acknowledge like, I can't figure out how to say that. It like goes back to what we were talking about earlier about like not knowing like the two categories of people and like not knowing what it is that you're looking for. And so as soon as they feel like you've rejected them, as soon as like, because that's what that feels like
it's a red flag.
Right. When you walk away from an argument, like the first response normally would be like, oh, I'm not gonna let you hurt me like this. Great, get the fuck out.
Right. If you want to do this,
if you want to be done, you be fucking done. See you later.
Like in that moment, that's when you lean in and not fall.
You have to. You have to.
You have to. That's the only way your partner's gonna know. Like, hey, this is how this is affecting me. Because if you walk away, like you can't. That's walking away or avoiding issues instead of realizing like you're gonna have issues regardless. Even at 3 years, you and I, we don't have issues, but there's things that come up, and if we didn't know how to navigate those,
there would be issues.
But because we know how to navigate those, it's not a conflict. It's just a regular, hey babe, here's the situation. Okay, cool. What are your thoughts? Okay, cool. And it's done and over. It ain't no 5-day argument, and I'm not
because we
gonna talk
both
to
feel
you for.
secure enough to just talk about it at the beginning. There's no fuck games going back and forth and being like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not texting you being like, no, I just think it's funny how, like that kind of stuff doesn't happen with us because we just talk about it.
You're really beautiful.
I love you.
I love you so much, and I agree. We do talk about it.
I think that's what changes it.
We're just talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy how people are more inclined to raw dog their partner, but they don't want to talk about their raw emotions and feelings. Like, you use a protection on the wrong thing.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh my god.
Like, I get it. You should be concerned, but like
Right.
maybe turn that around a little bit.
Come on, bestie. Come on, bestie.
It's crazy. Yeah, I definitely think it has taken a lot of work to get here. I think it's been very worth it. And I think it also like sets us up for a lifetime of less work. You know what I mean? Like, because we did all of that work in the beginning, and like even now, I'm not saying that it's easy because it isn't. Like, there are still things.
I don't even like calling it work.
But right?
Because it's not work.
It's not.
It's our life. Like, I think people tend to associate relationship with work, and that's not. Work is something
takes
you're
effort.
doing. Work is is something you're physically doing, right? But you can equate work with relationship. Like, yes, it takes
Effort.
work and effort in your relationship, but once you get past that aspect of you having to work with your partner in a certain extent, like trying to navigate and figure each other out, you're still gonna be trying to navigate and figure each other out, but it's not gonna be work to do it. It's how much effort does it take to say, hey babe, do you like this? Oh, why don't you like that? That's not work compared to like at the beginning of our relationship. Yeah, that would have been work.
Mm-hmm. I think doing the work at the beginning, because it's hard. Doing that work is what sets you up to not have to do that work.
I agree. I don't. What do you think? Well, I guess I'll say that for another video.